What's up, everybody? This is Talkative Carl back again for another spoiler review, and I finally getting around to it. I'm covering a lot of Iron Man in the next few weeks. I already did my coverage of a lot of Captain America stuff all through July, which you can check out on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. Links are in the description. Covered all the Captain Americas and the movies, the uh, uh, and comics, so you can check those out. Unfortunately, there's no you know what it should be like a Captain America animated TV series, uh, but you know you would think, especially after like everything been going on with the MCU, you would think they would put like a emphasis on like a animated TV series for Captain America. But yeah, I covered like a handful of just a few comics and like a few movies. So check that out on the channel. Now I'm going through all of Iron Man stuff. 3 comics, 3 movies, and there's only 2 seasons of Iron Man Armored Adventures, but I tossed in the anime Iron Man TV series. They only had like 1 season. This is around the time when Marvel was doing their like anime, like I guess hired like a lot of people from like Japan to who done a lot of anime work, help with the animation with like Wolverine, Blade, X-Men, Iron Man, and they were really good. I really enjoyed them, so I made sure like I tossed in Iron Man. Eventually, I will go through the others in time, uh, but uh, uh, right now we'll go through season 1 of Iron Man Armored Adventures. First, right off the bat, the uh, the music, phenomenal, kick-ass theme music, and it's right up there with like uh, dun, 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 it's right up there. It's like that's exclusively Iron Man. As far as just these 2 kind of songs, but man, it was yeah, Iron Man Armored Adventures. It was released uh, 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 a year after the first Iron Man movie, uh, went to screen. So it was like smartly played, riding high on like what's going on. It's like I don't know. It's like the polar opposite of something like the Avengers video game that came out a few years ago, and it's like this is like at least a few or so months after Endgame already ended when they want to release this game. I'm like, well, who knows how long they've been working on it, but it doesn't seem like they've been working on too long because the game is not really that good. You know, obviously they couldn't afford like the rights to the likeness of the actual actors, so they look like they got their freaking stunt doubles, and it doesn't look good. You should just build like a original character from the ground up, like you did with Kamala Khan, because the actress who plays Kamala Khan from the Miss Marvel TV series wasn't cast to be Miss Marvel at that time. So you had to create a original person from the ground up, which you should have just done from across the board. And it should have been a good thing, but you this Avengers game should have came out at any time during any other Avengers movies that came before it. But you're just like you're slacking, man. This is like way too late. You missed the train, and nobody was really with it, but they tried to give it a chance by looking at the designs. The Miss Marvel stuff was probably like the best part, honestly. But you think it should have worked because you got a lot of like classic voice actors involved in this. Now I love Nolan North. He's like Iron Man, but only thing, not the typecast or anything like that, but it's like the only thing I'm hearing from his mouth is Deadpool, and it just did. I get it. You're trying to get the snarkiness, and Nolan North is pretty good with that, but it's just like God. It just sounds too much Deadpool in my ear, and like you don't want to seem like you're trying to just ape off Robert Downey Jr.'s voice. But like I said, you could have just have like some original voice actors, so you don't just hear just Nolan North or any other. The only original, at least relatively up and coming voice actors was the actress for Kamala Khan, uh, who I follow on Twitter. I think she's like an amazing actress. Uh, but I'm digress. But I mean, Iron Man Armored Avengers, aired at the right time, around the time when Iron Man was all the rage. Like, because Iron Man for the longest time, prior to the films, was relegated to like the B-list type of superhero. Not many people was feeling Iron Man like that. Hardly any of the Avengers. Like it was like you got Spider-Man and X-Men. It's pretty much like taking up the bulk of the popularity. Now it's like Iron Man is like shot right up there. And I always loved Iron Man. I watched like the '90s TV series, which I was, toying with the idea of putting it on the list, but it's already like I already got like a lot of stuff. So uh, I think what I got is decent. I'll probably eventually get to the anime series stuff. Now I'm thinking about it because I want to eventually do a season review for Batman anime series. But I want to make sure, like, if I do something like that, I want to take out like the bulk of the classic anime series type of superhero cartoons. Yeah, Spider-Man from the '90s as well, uh, X-Men '90s, Superman, TAS, and of course like the Iron Man '90s show, and lump them all together in this original Fox Kids lineup of superheroes TV series. Uh, but anyway, there's a little bit of like tweaks to like the origin story. It's like a reinterpretation of Iron Man and the supporting cast. They're teenagers. There's no Yinsen in this. And Howard Stark is like a single parent, and they touched on about the mother. I guess she like passed away. It didn't seem like it was like an accident, or just it seems like it's just natural causes kind of thing. But it was an interesting take, I thought, where it's like typically both of Tony's parents have long since died, and he grew up, without parents. However, in this interpretation, he has at least his father for a decent period of time to help raise him. And they running Stark International. They love competing with each other's who invents like a better tech or whatever like that. So I like the camaraderie between this father, like and his kids. Like these two, like had like a great companionship. Unlike in the films, where it's interpreted where it's like Tony, not had a grudge against his father, but he, there was like a rift between him and his father that didn't truly get like resolved until like Endgame, where he kind of make peace with his father and understood him a little bit better now that he's like a father himself. Uh, uh, in this series, we get what I consider like the Mandarin, at least like a good interpretation for modern time of the Mandarin, because I like the actor who played the Mandarin in Shang-Chi. What I don't like, and I still, die on this hill, those ring bracelets aren't the traditional. I know MCU like to do their own thing, but it's like the Mandarin has ring fingers, and each do a particular power. Not these, generic concussion blast force things that that was shown in the MCU, and it was a much more. I don't know. I guess you can call this. It's still intimidating in his own way, but can you imagine that actor wielding 10 rings, each one doing a particular thing. Because I want to show you, at least tell you at the very least, uh, the matter of what uh his rings can do. Hold on a second. Uh, all right. One ring on his finger, called Zero, can make ice blast. Uh, uh, Another called the Liar can make or like a mental intensifier, which is use like psionic energy uh, to put people under mental control. You got one ring called Lightning, Electric Blast. Another ring called Incandescence, creates Flame Blast. Another ring called Daimonic, which creates white lights. Uh, uh, the ring can emit various forms of energy along with electromagnetic spectrum. It has been used to create gravity powerful enough to make Iron Man bury himself by trying to walk forward. Uh, you got Nightbringer, Blacklight. Uh, it creates absolute blackness. Uh, Spectral, de- disin- disintegration, disintegration beam. Uh, but after use, it takes 20 minutes, to recharge to be able to use it again. Uh, you got spin, or vortex beam, influence, an impact beam, and finally remaker, a matter rearranger beam. Uh, so each one of these rings has a freaking power in its own right that you get the taste of it so far in season one. And I just wish they kind of kept that, because the Mandarin is Iron Man's version. It was kind of like Iron Man's Joker. It's too important, and I understand like they made some bad decisions in Iron Man 3, which I will get to eventually, in like the coming weeks. But uh, I don't know what their mindset was at that time. I guess they thought it was be funny, but then they kind of realized the backlash and like did some end credits, or some kind of uh 5-10 minute little thing showing like this whole actor isn't like the Mandarin. He's getting his comeuppance, and the real Mandarin is actually out there. But you should have brought him in at some point to face Iron Man. But I guess like now, okay, Shang-Chi kind of like took that spot, and they kind of make it like he's related to Shang-Chi, which I'm not sure about the current comics. And they probably have to retcon in the current comics to make it line up, but they're not fucking related. But anyway, uh, so Howard is on this, expedition searching for these particular rings that he theorized is a form of ancient technology. But then his plane got hijacked, exploded with his son on there, but his son survived thanks to uh, his brand new Iron Man armor that he was going to show off to his father, but it ended up saving his life. But it also caused like a shrapnel to his heart, the story. And then he was, later patched up. you know, sometime later. But so there's no Yinsen or anything like that. You get introduced to like Pepper and Rhodey. You get to see Rhodey's mother, father. You don't see him. He's like on leave in the Navy kind of thing. Which brings to mind, I guess they might bring it up in the second season. I'm not 100% sure on that. But it'll be nice to see like moments where it's like seated that, because Rhodey is like a Air Force military man. It'd be nice to see that little by little in like Rhodey's mind, like what he want to do after high school. Uh, then you get Pepper, who's had like a only a, you don't see the mother, but you have the father who's like a pretty sure he works for the FBI, I think. Uh, but I want to bring it up now while it's on topic. I really don't care. I don't think I ever cared back then for this version of Rhodey and Pepper. First of all, Pepper talks way too goddamn much. And I guess it's high school, they got a lot of energy and hormones and blah, 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 blah. But I guess the Pepper I always knew was already a grown woman and a little bit, not reserved, but a little bit more handle on her emotions and, you know, more wiser and stuff like that. But, and maybe this version of Pepper's supposed to like grow into that. But as of right now, I do not care. She talks too much. She's annoying. Uh, and like she's such a simp, sometimes where she's like, she changes moods so doggone fast. And I get they're children, but it's just like it's way too fast. And and then Rhodey acts like a mother hen. And it's like, I get it. You could be mad at Tony because there's always like a thing between these two, even in the comics. Is like, Tony tends to keep secrets and supposed to be his best friend, supposed to be let him in and start treating everything like he has to do it on his own. I get it, but you're dangerously close, acting like even Tony pointed out like, okay, mom, and it's like, yeah, stop. You're not his fucking mother. Like, I get you want to like look out for your friend, but at the end of the day, you gotta lay the fuck off, okay? Like, I'm tired, Tony. We're supposed to be friends. How you gonna do this to us? Come on, man. I was like, dude, chill the fuck out, okay? Like, I'm tired of you sending us out. I'm tired of this. God, you're supposed to be friends. I was like, dude, it's like, why are you nagging? You're a nagger. Come on, stop. Okay. Things like I have best friends too, and they care for me, but they're not gonna sit there and dictate. I mean, like I get it. Like technically, his friends put himself in danger like almost every day when he puts on that armor and stuff like that. But it's like after I can understand that for maybe like a couple of episodes, maybe three, But after a while, you're gonna have to sell like just like the same issue I had with Daredevil season 2 when Foggy found out about like Daredevil's like like Matt's alter ego, and they dedicated like a couple of episodes of him like, yeah, he's pissed. He doesn't like what his friend's doing, but he grew to eventually kind of accept it because he's not going to sit there and harp on it every time he sees him, but he's going to just, but he had to learn to just, okay, I'm just going to deal with it because I can't stop him. And like you get this other supporting character, Gene Khan, which, spoiler alert, is the Mandarin, but an alter, in the comics, Gene Khan is the alias, a different alias for the Mandarin, because his real name in the comics is Zhen Zhang, but in the TV series they made him like a separate character because Jin Khan has a stepfather named Jin Jiang who is the Mandarin, but eventually Jin will usurp him because they had like a Jin doesn't care for Zhang. He blames him for what happened to his like mother, who his mother seems like low key trying to like see into her son like, oh, you're meant for great things, you seize power, that kind of thing. It's like see like uh uh formed and some kind of like a union between her and Jang just to assure uh a better life and greater chance for her son to have things that he needs in order to seize power and become greater and stuff like that. Uh, uh, so they all like eventually like go on like a while they assume Jin Khan is like a normal kid from school, they go you know uh globe hopping, searching for these 5 rings, 5 initially. Then you get to like deal with about the next 5 in the second season. But uh you got like a grudge, Tony with a grudge against Obadiah Stane, who he blames for the because he suspects him having something to do with the plane crash that ends up killing his father. Who you later at the end of the season, find out that he wasn't dead, which I'm not sure why there was no body. Because what did you bury? They just mentioned a funeral, but it was not. Nobody mentioned about like there was no body. They just, I guess, it could have just thrown it in there. There was like you know, I don't know. It was like it was it was consumed by fire, it was vaporized or something or other to explain like because Tony would have bring up anybody would bring up like why was no body like blah blah blah. But or you'd think like Rhodey's mom would have brought that up because she's a lawyer for Howard Stark. But anyway, you also get to introduce to Whitney Stane. But here's the thing, they took some liberties here. For instance, they combine because in the comics, Obadiah Stane has a son, and uh, Whitney is a separate entity altogether because she is Madame Mass, which she is in the series, but as entirely separate characters. They decided to combine the two uh, uh, to give like a extra love interest to Tony kind of thing, but and I guess I guess they didn't want to throw in like I guess it would be too many people to like toss in there if they decided to throw in like Ezekiel Stane, who is like a threat all on his own. Uh, I mean, I feel indifferent about that. It's not like I hate that idea, but I don't think it was necessary. They could just have. I guess they couldn't find like a better way to introduce Madame Mass, but she's like a corporate espionage type of spy, type of woman who's is a jilted lover of Tony Stark and has like a weird love hate relationship with him and stuff like that. But then, like you got the Ghost, who in all other interpretations is just uh like a spy, working for the highest bidder kind of situation, who has tech that can help him turn invisible and phase through walls. Very different from what you saw from Ant-Man and the Wasp. Not that not that I don't care for a gender swap kind of situation, but I don't know. Yeah, because like she, didn't behave like Ghostwood. Because just like with Taskmaster, who also was like a gender swap person, didn't he at least have any kind of the snarkiness? Because Ghost and Taskmaster has like a snarkiness to them that makes them uh, unique than just your generic spy, silent killer crap. But you get a lot of wide variety because not many people are that familiar with uh, Iron Man's Rose Gallery because he has an extensive Rose Gallery, and I love this show because they made these characters so damn cool. Like, because in the old comics, like during the 60s and 70s, they say their costumes were like tech, but it looked like just because the art and like what they had at the time made them look like just generic latex costumes that do certain crap. But in this, you get to see like Blizzard, Donnie Gill, who's pretty much like a Marvel's version of Mr. Freeze minus the whole wife thing. Has tech that utilize different ice, gadgets like these little flying discs that shoot out, omnidirectional ice blasts. It was so doggone cool. No pun intended. And then you got Whiplash, a good Whiplash, which works for Mr. Fix, who just like the Tinkerer, helped build like a lot of tech for a lot of bad guys. And Whiplash in this is pretty dang cool as well. You got these little razor energized whips things that made him freaking lethal. Definitely a little bit better than what we got from Iron Man 2. And you got the Crimson Dynamo. Unlike Iron Man 2, where they try to combine the two, which makes no goddamn sense, you got a separate entity in Whiplash, and you got Vanko, the Crimson Dynamo. And I like this version of Crimson Dynamo, and it's like completely a humongous threat that eventually Tony had to. You get to see a lot of upgrades in the armor, or at least different variations of the armor, because it's freaking cool. I love all these types of armor because Tony has like at least over 100 and some change of different types of armor for different sets of things. But he eventually had to build up what will later be called the Hulk Buster, because the Hulk has a cameo in this. There's quite a few cameos in this series altogether. But in season 1, you get a introduction with Black Panther. He shows up for one. Nick Fury shows up, and Murray Hill shows up a few times through the series. You get the Hulk, and at least maybe just this one time. Eventually, you'll see Doctor Doom, but that's in season 2. But it's very dope. But yeah, you get to see MODOK in this. It's like, yeah, Iron Man has a incredible Rose Gallery that is like underrated and need to be hyped up because like their tech is pretty dang cool. I love the art in this entire series. Just hands down. I love this type of slick 3D kind of look. It's like a step up from like the old TV show Reboot or like Beast Wars. It's like Iron Man Armored Adventures took it to a whole nother level with that. You imagine they probably used that as like a baseline or something like that, and then like took it to a whole nother level. But yeah, so you got like part of the season, Iron Man dealing with the Mandarin searching for the rings and figure out what happened to his father, and dealing with Stain in the other front. But you also got Tony dealing with personal stuff along the way, like coming to grips with like, because finding like certain things like Madam Mask, who's supposed to be, and like the Living Laser, another awesome character, who has this like chest harness that leaks out energy because it wasn't completed, just like with Madam Mask wasn't completed by his father, and like Tony said, he eventually kind of like gave up on and stored in his vault thing, and somehow somebody broke in, stole the stuff, and other people got their hands on it. Now you got Tony feeling like a certain type of way. He's in his feelings right now because for who he thought his father was, is like a great entrepreneur, a good man, honorable man, but it took up to his Rhodey's mom to let him know that you know before you were born, yeah, he sold weapons to people like Shield, and but he put all that aside, or not to aside, he abolished all that, damn near bankrupted his company in the process. The moment you were born, he decided like there's more to life than making, like as he says in the movie, more than making things blow up. And he started to turn this company around to better mankind with his tech. And also, like Tony had, the struggle with the fact that like he wanted one part of his wishes, because yeah, he's like 2 years away from seizing control of Stark Industries, from Obadiah Stane. However, it's under the prerequisite, under the guidelines of Howard's will, that Tony has to attend public school, even though he's smarter than probably, like definitely smarter than a lot of people there. But that wasn't the purpose of him making sure he goes to a nice public school with his friend Rhodey. Is to gain life experience, like meeting people on the ground and the people you're helping, so you can get a better understanding. Because as he put it in like this kind of holographic will, which is kind of ironic because you get the kind of same thing with Tony in Endgame with this holographic will that he's left behind. That he put his foot down on the situation for Tony to understand, like, if you're gonna run this company, you got to understand the people that you're that's working under you, because without that part, then it's like, how can you truly help them if you don't know what they need? And like, like you got to be in the muck there with them. So yeah, I mean, like you get like awesome introductions with the controller, aim, and throughout the time you see like the living laser, who shows up at least 3 times. Uh, because you can see like, a lot of these guys have like different, like, trauma and psychological. Not all of them have psychological problems. Some are just greedy and like, or just have a grudge. But you can see from like Living Laser, who in this interpretation has like got into a life of crime in the first place, because he at first like worked for the Magia, who was like hijacking a lot of Stark tech, puts on the harness that, unbeknownst to him, was leaking dangerous energy that he had eventually turned to Living Laser. And I guess that didn't help with his mental state, because you can tell from like his like mind that he was berated by his mother, treated like he's worth nothing. It was going to amount to nothing, and then he getting berated by his gangster crew, and then I guess it didn't help because Iron Man did not know this, but he tried to use his power to rob a bank, and I kind of liked this line. It always stuck with me from the show, where Iron Man points out to him after he stops Living Laser from attacking cops, is that you got all this power, and the first thing you do is rob a bank. It's like, I forgot what the last line was, but it's like basically it's like, you got all this power, and like, the first thing you do is try to rob a bank, and you like, don't try to do anything better. Like, you're not original here. But eventually, Tony, after he's trying, when Shield asks to help try to cure the Living Laser's condition, nobody knows who Tony Stark is. They still operate on like them, because a long time ago, at least up until the point of like early 2000s, Tony Stark had an alter ego, which was Iron Man. But everybody outside of like Pepper and Rhodey always viewed as Iron Man as Tony Stark's bodyguard. But in this, it's just two separate beings, and they don't know each other at all. And the Living Laser finally like gets somebody who actually cares for him, which is ironically from Tony Stark, who he does not know is Iron Man. And thanks to his help, he was, saved from AIM trying to use his energy to power up MODOK. And they team up an awesome team up to stop MODOK. But Living Laser ends up giving the last bit of energy that's keeping him grounded in the current state of being where he's interacting with people. He essentially ends up dying. But it was like a nice little moment where it's like, because he starts to remember, like, because he's so clouded by anger and like what he won, and all the misgivings that people have been giving out to him over his years. He starts to recall that when every time he's interacting with Iron Man, it's always Iron Man trying to reach out and help him, but he couldn't see that. But then once he realized who Iron Man was, thanks to MODOK, because he read, Iron Man's brain and shouted out his fucking identity. Luckily, only Living Laser and Iron Man was the only ones around. But that's when Laser realized, okay, like Tony Stark is Iron Man, and they actually were trying to help him. But it was a nice little last line from Laser saying like, yeah, I helped Iron Man. And he passes away. It was a nice little moment. And I love cartoons like this, just like with Avatar that was airing around the same time. It's like cartoons don't need to be just things to get your kids' attention, to distract them while you're doing other business. A good cartoon not only entertains, but you learn from it and tell great stories from it. And it's like you learn, each of these characters has layers to them, and it makes them all the worth like more enjoyable. You get the introduction with the Controller, who I don't like, certain designs of him in the comics because he's just a guy who's using like a helmet that connects to these kind of controlling discs to try to control people to his will. I guess if you look at it on a psychological level, maybe it's somebody who felt like he had no control over his life. Now he's trying to observe, give force control over others, and he tried to control the Hulk, but it didn't work. So he controlled Rick Jones in this point in time, because they don't have that currently in the comics no more. That because there's no smart Hulk. It's just like Hulk that we always knew from growing up. And he had Rick Jones with him, and Rick Jones were the primary responsible party of causing the creation of the Hulk, because he was in the comics. He went out in the middle. He did not realize that was like a testing ground for where Bruce was going to test like the gamma bomb for the army. But he went out in the middle of the road, tried to like, play his harmonica, thought it was nice and quiet. But then, of course, Bruce went out there, tried to save him, which he did, but ended up getting hit by gamma radiation, which turned him to Hulk. Now, Rick kind of like feels like I owe it to the Hulk because of me. He's like this, and the army and God knows how many other people try to hunt him down to take his power or just kill him outright. So I'm going to be his like road dog until we're sure he's safe and blah blah blah, or find a cure. At least at that time, he was like Hulk trying to find a cure. It wasn't until like at least maybe until like the past 5 years, I believe, where it's like the Hulk and Banner kind of reconciled. I guess, at least in my mind, I guess writers and maybe the readers got tired of that same old stuff where like Bruce trying to cure himself of the Hulk and blah blah blah, and not realizing the Hulk is like a hero and getting chased by the army and all the other stuff, and it's like that got tired after a while, and that's why I think, and that's why made a nice little transition into something new. But yeah, I mean, like the show is phenomenal. The armors we get to see, of course, like you get to see. Well, you don't see like the classic gray Mark One, but you get to see your typical Iron Man armor suit. Typically, it's known as Mark III, but they call it Mark One in this because this is the first armor he actually wore in the series. But you get to see the space armor, which is dope. Like space armor and the Hydra armor and the Arctic armor as my favorite Iron Man armor sets. But you get to see like the Arctic armor and the and like space armor, and you get to see the War Machine armor because eventually, when towards the last two episodes, Rhodey dons the War Machine suit that Tony had stored away, and the jig was up. Jean realized Tony was Iron Man, and everybody else figured out that Jean has been the Mandarin and was responsible for what happened to Tony's father, and trying to reacquire all these rings. You get to see Fin Fang Foom in this, the proper Fin Fang Foom, who, if you don't know, whose species was the original creators of the Makulan rings. But anyway, like I said, like so far as like the cons I had in this is like, which is weird, is coming from Rhodey and Pepper. Like I do not like. Maybe it's just the way it's written, maybe not the voice actors, but the writing is the way it was written and what was directed by the voice actors made to me Rhodey and Pepper annoying as fuck. I cannot stand them. Once I get into season 2, we'll see if there was any kind of changes that I missed back in the day. But as far as like, yeah, those we might. Oh no, another thing, they have Happy Hogan in this, and he's like a doofus jock in this, and I don't care for them to make him so much of like a stupid jock, because Rhodey in most other interpretations may not be a tech genius, but he's a good average Joe, good head on his shoulders, just like an average intelligence. That he's not, portrayed like they didn't portray him in this as like a completely, like he's it's like he should be in remedial class or something like that. They play him too dumb. So I don't like the way they have Happy. It's like the 3 primary support teams of Iron Man. You play I won't say completely wrong, but they missed the mark in my opinion. Pepper is annoying, Happy is too stupid, and Rhodey is like a nagging mom. And it's like I don't care for any of that. Everything else I completely enjoy. This, it's just like, give this a watch on Disney Plus and let me know what you think. And I will see you guys in a little bit as I go over the first Iron Man movie. So, see you guys in a little. Oh, and definitely don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the viewer counts, and the support is greatly appreciated. But leave a comment below if you have seen Iron Man Armor Adventures before. Let me know what you like and dislike about the show, and I will see you guys